Magic doesn't announce itself with fanfare. It whispers through your bones at 3 in the morning, leaves you breathless on familiar streets that suddenly feel foreign. I learned this the night Manhattan's concrete maze tried to swallow me whole, and I discovered that some hungers run deeper than flesh. The October moon hung like a silver wound above the city, casting shadows that writhed against brownstone walls. As a botanical photographer, I'd spent 5 years capturing beauty in decay. Wildflowers clawing through abandoned lots, rooftop gardens defying gravity. My camera lens had become my shield against loneliness, each click of the shutter a heartbeat keeping rhythm with my solitary existence. Nothing prepared me for what waited behind the ancient stone wall on East 73rd Street. The scent struck first. Night-blooming jasmine threaded with something darker, more primitive. Something that made my blood sing and my skin flush with sudden, inexplicable heat. I'd photographed this street countless times for my upcoming book on hidden urban gardens, memorized every crack in the sidewalk, every iron railing. Tonight, the air itself pulsed with electricity, raising the fine hairs on my arms. That's when I saw it, the gate that existed only in dreams. Wrought iron twisted into impossible patterns, metal so intricate it seemed to breathe. Blue light pulsed beyond the bars like a living heartbeat, and I felt an answering rhythm low in my belly, urgent and demanding. My fingers trembled as I reached for the latch, expecting cold metal. Instead, frost bloomed beneath my touch, delicate as spun glass and twice as dangerous. The gate swung open without a sound. "Christ," I whispered, my voice swallowed by a sudden silence. Beyond lay a path illuminated by flowers I'd never documented in any botanical journal. Each footstep released clouds of silver pollen that made my head spin and my pulse quicken to a rhythm I didn't recognize. The air grew thick, almost liquid, tasting of honey and dark promises. With every breath, something inside me awakened, something wild and hungry that I'd spent 30 years keeping caged. Moonlight pooled like mercury in the hearts of impossible blooms. The grass beneath my feet felt like silk, each blade tipped with starlight that ruptured the darkness of my carefully controlled world. Beauty so intense it penetrated my chest, leaving me raw and exposed. My camera hung forgotten around my neck as I stumbled forward, drunk on wonder and an arousal so sudden and fierce it nearly brought me to my knees. "You're finally here." The voice rolled through me like an intense heat, and I spun toward the sound, my heart slamming against my ribs with the force of recognition I couldn't explain. He stood among a cluster of blue roses, their ethereal glow casting shadows across the sharp angles of his face. His silver-streaked dark hair caught the moonlight, and his eyes shifted color like the aurora borealis, blue to green to gold and back again. An ancient camera hung from his shoulder, brass and leather worn smooth by decades of use, its weight familiar in a way that made my chest tight. Danger radiated from him, and a desire so potent I could taste it on my tongue. "I'm sorry," I managed, though my voice sounded foreign in this place between worlds. "I didn't mean to trespass." He stepped closer and I caught his scent, cedar and midnight air with an underlying musk that made my mouth water and my thighs clench. "Marina Cross, photographer of hidden worlds. You're exactly where the garden needs you to be." The sound of my name on his lips sent heat spiraling through my core, molten and demanding. "How do you know who I am?" His smile was slow, predatory, the kind that promised dark pleasures and sleepless nights. "I know everything about you. Your work, your dreams, the loneliness you carry like a blade against your ribs." He moved another step closer, close enough that his body heat warmed the space between us. "I've been waiting 30 years for you to find me." "Waiting for what?" The question escaped as barely more than breath. For you to stop running from what you are. He gestured toward a marble bench surrounded by glowing flowers that pulsed in rhythm with my racing heart. Sit with me, Marina. There are things about yourself you need to understand. Every rational instinct screamed to flee this place. This man who spoke in riddles and looked at me like he could see straight through to the hunger I'd never acknowledged. Instead, I followed him to the bench, hyper-aware of his presence as I sat. The marble was warm despite the cool night air, as if it held memories of skin and passion. From his camera bag, he pulled an album bound in scales that shifted from deep green to midnight blue. The cover felt warm beneath my fingertips, almost alive, pulsing with the same rhythm as the flowers around us. I'm Finn, he said quietly, watching my face with predatory focus as I opened the album. Guardian of this place, and if the garden has chosen correctly, I will soon be something more. The photographs inside shattered reality. Gardens captured in impossible light, flowers that pulsed with their own luminescence, moments frozen in time that made my photographer's mind reel with possibilities I'd never dared imagine. Each image shimmered in my peripheral, like breathing things trapped on paper and desperate for release. These are, I breathed, touching one that showed a cascade of starlight blooms. The image grew warm beneath my fingers, and I could swear I heard their gentle chiming, a song that resonated in my bones. How is this possible? The same way you'll capture them. His hand covered mine on the album, and electricity shot up my arm, settling low in my belly. This garden appears to those chosen to document its magic. I've been its guardian for 30 years, waiting for someone who could see what I see. I looked up into those impossible eyes, now a deep emerald that made my pulse skip and stutter. And now? Now it's chosen you. His thumb traced across my knuckles, a simple touch that sent fire racing through my veins and made my breath hitch. Look through your lens, Marina. See what I see. With shaking hands, I raised my camera. Through the viewfinder, the garden exploded into a wonder that redefined everything I'd ever seen, known, or experienced. Colors danced, flowers pulsated with an inner light that matched the rhythm of my accelerating heartbeat, and the very air sparkled with magic made visible. When I lowered the camera, Finn was studying my face with an intensity that made heat pool between my thighs. The garden doesn't choose guardians lightly, he said, his voice rougher now, edged with something that sounded like hunger. It chooses souls that recognize magic, souls that have been starving for this moment their entire lives. I don't understand what's happening to me. His fingers traced my jaw, feather light but branding me, leaving trails of fire that made me lean into his touch. You will. Permit yourself to feel it, Marina. Stop fighting what you are. He led me deeper into the garden, showing me wonders that rewrote the rules of reality. Moonflowers that bloomed only under starlight, their petals crystallized light itself. Pools that reflected different seasons, their surfaces rippling with memories of springs yet to come and summers that burned with possibility. Hidden paths that rearranged themselves as we walked, leading us to discoveries that made my pulse race with more than wonder. But it was Finn himself who fascinated me most. The way he moved through this impossible place, like he was part of it, connected to every leaf and petal by invisible threads of power. His knowledge ran deeper than botany. He understood the garden's very soul, its hungers and desires that mirrored my own. When he spoke of the spirits that tended the flowers, his voice carried reverence. When he showed me how to photograph the invisible, his hands guided mine with practiced intimacy. Magic flowed between us like electricity, making my skin hypersensitive to his touch. There, he whispered, his breath warm against my ear as we crouched beside a cluster of silver blooms. His body pressed against my back, solid and warm and dangerously male. Do you see them now? Through my lens, translucent figures tended the flowers, their forms shimmering like heat mirages or distant dreams. My camera captured them, preserving their ethereal beauty for the first time in decades, and I felt something inside me shift and settle into place. My God, I breathed, lowering the camera to find Finn observing me with eyes that had darkened to forest green and pupils dilated with something that looked like hunger and recognition in equal measure. You see everything, he murmured, his voice rough with an emotion that made my stomach clench with want. The garden chose perfectly. It knew what I needed. Hours passed like heartbeats, the moon tracking across the sky in ways that defied physics and reason. As it set, panic clawed at my chest. Will I be able to return? Finn's hand found mine, our fingers intertwining as if they'd been crafted to fit together. The garden exists between heartbeats, between moments in time. Once it chooses you, you will always find your way back. His grip tightened, and I felt the tremor in his touch. But Marina, becoming its guardian means accepting its magic completely. It will change you in ways you can't imagine. And you? The question scraped from my throat, raw and desperate. What happens to you? His smile held joy and sorrow. That depends on what you choose. The garden has never selected a new guardian while the previous one still serves. I believe it's trying to tell us something that neither of us has been brave enough to acknowledge. In that moment, surrounded by impossible beauty and thrumming magic that made my skin tighten, I understood. This wasn't about photography or guardianship. This was about destiny, about two souls recognizing one another across time and space, about a hunger that had been eating me alive for years without understanding what I craved. I lifted my camera and turned it on him. Through the lens, I saw the magic that flowed through him, connecting him to every living thing in this place. He glowed with an otherworldly light that was beautiful, ancient, and devastatingly male. When I lowered the camera, he was standing directly before me, close enough that I could see flecks of gold in his color-shifting eyes, close enough to feel the heat radiating from his skin. The garden chose well, he whispered, his hand cupping my face with a gentleness that belied the intensity burning in his gaze. When his lips touched mine, the world exploded into sensation and color. Magic erupted around us like a dam breaking. Flowers burst into bloom, releasing clouds of luminescent pollen that swirled through the air like stardust. The ground beneath us hummed with an energy that traveled up through my body, making every nerve ending sing with a pleasure so intense it bordered on pain. The taste of honey and starlight flooded my senses until I was drunk, lost in a kiss that felt like coming home and losing myself all at once. In that kiss, I understood everything. Why the garden had waited. Why Finn had seemed familiar from the first moment. Why my soul had been restless my entire life, searching for something I couldn't name, but recognized the moment I found it. We were bound by more than magic. We were two halves of something that had been broken long before either of us drew breath. When we broke apart, both breathing hard, the garden pulsed around us like a beating heart. Finn's eyes burned with desire and something deeper, more primal, possession and tenderness and a hunger that matched my own. "Marina," he said, my name a prayer and a promise on his lips. "Yes," I whispered, not caring what I was agreeing to. In this place between worlds, with magic flowing through my veins and this impossible man looking at me, I would have agreed to anything he asked. He kissed me again, deeper this time, his hands tangling in my hair. I pressed against him, feeling the solid heat of his body, the rapid beat of his heart that matched mine stroke for stroke. Around us, the garden sang with approval, flowers blooming brighter, the very air shimmering with our combined desire and the magic that bound us together. We spent that night exploring more than the garden's wonders. We discovered one another, the way Finn's eyes darkened when I touched him, how my name sounded like a benediction when he whispered it against my throat. The marble bench became our altar, the glowing flowers our witnesses as we claimed one another under the eternal moon, magic and desire twining together until I couldn't tell where I ended and he began. The sun found us tangled together, our clothes scattered among the glowing blooms, my camera forgotten beside us. In the growing light, I expected the magic to fade, expected this beautiful dream to dissolve into harsh reality. Instead, the garden remained. Finn remained. And the bond between us pulsed stronger than ever. "I have to go," I whispered against his chest, though every cell in my body hated the idea. "You'll come back." It wasn't a question. His fingers traced patterns on my bare shoulder that made me shiver with renewed desire. "The garden won't let you stay away. Neither will I." He was right. In the weeks that followed, I returned every full moon, drawn by magic and desire. The garden revealed its secrets slowly. Paths that led to other dimensions. Creatures that existed between reality and dream. Flowers that bloomed in colors that had no names in any earthly language. But it was Finn who consumed my thoughts during the long days between visits, his touch haunting my skin, his voice echoing in my dreams. By day, I continued my normal life, editing photographs and working on my book. But the images from the garden changed everything. Colors seemed more vivid, shadows held deeper mysteries, and my regular work fell flat and lifeless by comparison. I was changing, becoming something new, something that belonged more to that magical realm than to the mundane world I'd known. The choice, when it came, felt inevitable. 6 months later, I closed my apartment lease, packed my cameras and a few meaningful possessions, and stepped through the iron gate for the last time as a visitor. Finn waited for me in the garden's heart, his eyes bright with joy and relief and a love so fierce it took my breath away. "Are you certain?" he asked, though his arms were already around me, holding me like he'd never let me go. "I've never been more sure of anything," I whispered against his lips, tasting magic and promise and forever. The garden pulsed with approval as we sealed our bond, magic flowing between us. I felt the moment it accepted me fully. Power flooded my veins, connecting me to every living thing in this impossible place, and to the man who'd been waiting his entire life for someone to share the burden and beauty of guardianship. Now, 3 years later, we tend the garden together, capturing its endless wonders through our combined lenses. Each photograph tells part of our story, a story of magic, destiny, and a love that burns as eternally as the moonlit blooms around us. Some nights, we watch as others find their way to the garden's gate. We see that same wonder and hunger we once wore, watch as they discover magic beyond their wildest dreams. Not all are chosen, but all leave changed, carrying sparks of wonder back into the world that desperately needs reminding that magic still exists. The garden continues evolving, revealing new mysteries with each full moon. Finn and I discover them together, our cameras capturing the impossible, our love deepening with each shared moment of magic and wonder. We've learned that true enchantment lies not in supernatural beauty alone, but in finding someone who sees the world through the same magical lens. Someone who understands that some hungers can only be satisfied by embracing the impossible. In quiet moments, sitting on our marble bench with glowing flowers pulsing around us like captured stars, I marvel at how a hidden garden brought two souls together at exactly the right moment. The magic that flows through us tells stories of other guardians, other loves throughout the garden's endless history, but none that burned quite like ours. With Finn's hand in mine, I understand that the greatest magic is love itself. Love that transforms, reveals, and makes the impossible real. Every photograph we take carries that truth, sharing it with a world desperate to believe in wonder. As tonight's moon rises over our enchanted sanctuary, I raise my camera once more, ready for whatever new magic the garden offers. Because that's what love truly means in this place. Not the absence of mystery, but the presence of someone who makes every mystery worth exploring, every wonder worth capturing, every moment worth living in full, brilliant color. In this garden of endless possibilities, Finn and I have found our forever. Our story continues to unfold like the garden's endless paths, each day bringing new discoveries, new reasons to fall deeper into a love that defies explanation and transcends ordinary understanding. For in this place between reality and dreams, we have found not magic alone, but home in the garden, in our art, and most importantly, in one another's arms.